Alright, let's talk about corporate greed. No, not the fun kind where a CEO gets a slightly too large bonus for firing half his workforce. I'm talking about the spectacular, gold-plated, Roman orgy on a private island level of greed. This brings us to Tyco International. In the 1990s, Tyco wasn't just a company. It was an insatiable corporate Pac-Man, gobbling up hundreds of smaller companies in everything from security systems to undersea fiber optic cables. It was a Wall Street darling, a titan of industry, a symbol of relentless American capitalism. And at the helm was a man who embodied that excess with every fiber of his being, CEO Dennis Kozlowski. Now, Dennis Kozlowski wasn't your typical boring spreadsheet-loving CEO. Oh no, he was a character. He cultivated this image of a hard-charging, deal-making genius. They called him Dealer Day Dennis, which sounds less like a CEO and more like a suspiciously energetic used car salesman. He joined Tyco in the 1970s and clawed his way to the top, becoming CEO in 1992. Under his leadership, Tyco's value exploded. It was a dizzying ascent, fueled by aggressive acquisitions and a stock price that seemed to only go up. He was the king, and Tyco was his rapidly expanding, incredibly complex, and, as it turns out, very vulnerable kingdom. Alongside King Kozlowski was his trusty consigliere, Chief Financial Officer Mark Swartz. If Kozlowski was the flashy frontman, Swartz was the quiet architect behind the scenes, the man who supposedly knew where all the financial bodies were buried. He was the gatekeeper of the company's vast treasury, the numbers guy who made sure the engine of this sprawling empire kept running smoothly. Together they were the dynamic duo of corporate expansion. They were celebrated, they were powerful, and they were, it seems, treating the company's bank account like their own personal, bottomless piggy bank. Their success was, for a time, the stuff of business school legend. They were lauded on the covers of magazines and hailed as visionaries. Investors who got in early made a fortune, and Wall Street couldn't get enough of the Tyco growth story. The company seemed unstoppable, a testament to what aggressive leadership and strategic acquisitions could achieve. But beneath this shimmering surface of success, a rot was setting in. A colossal, breathtakingly audacious heist was underway, orchestrated not by masked robbers, but by the very men entrusted to lead the company into a prosperous future. They weren't just running a company, they were running a scam. So, how exactly do you siphon off hundreds of millions of dollars from a multi-billion-dollar corporation? It's surprisingly simple if you're the one in charge of the checkbook. Step 1 for Kozlowski and Swartz was the bonus program. Now, a bonus is usually something you get for doing a good job. Their version was more like an ATM that only they had the PIN for. They would simply award themselves massive, multi-million-dollar bonuses without getting approval from Tyco's board of directors. They essentially paid themselves for being themselves, and the sums were staggering, often disguised in financial reports as legitimate business expenses. But why stop at fake bonuses when you can also give yourself interest-free money? The duo exploited a company program called the Key Employee Loan Program, or KELP. This was originally meant to help executives with things like buying company stock. Kozlowski and Swartz turned it into their personal slush fund. They would take out tens of millions in loans, and then, in a stroke of genius that is both simple and deeply illegal, they would use the unauthorized bonuses they just gave themselves to repay the loans. It was a perfect, self-contained cycle of theft. Money went out as a loan, and then more money went out as a bonus to cancel the loan. It's like robbing a bank to pay back a loan you took from that same bank. Then there was the art of the secret stock sale. As executives, they were awarded enormous amounts of company stock. When they sold these shares, they were supposed to report it. But reporting is for suckers. Instead, they sold hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Tyco stock and simply didn't tell anyone. They pocketed the cash, all while publicly encouraging everyone else to buy buy. It's the ultimate corporate sin. Telling your investors the ship is unsinkable while you're secretly inflating your own personal life raft and paddling away with a bag full of cash, leaving everyone else to go down with the vessel. This wasn't just a few $1,000s here and there. We're talking about a systematic looting of the company coffers on an epic scale. They manipulated accounting rules, buried transactions in obscure footnotes, and relied on a culture of lax oversight where the CEO's word was law. They took advantage of a board of directors that was either asleep at the wheel or too intimidated to ask the tough questions. It was a masterclass in corporate malfeasance, a slow, methodical bleed-out of a massive public company, orchestrated from the very top. The sheer audacity of it is what makes it so remarkable. All good, incredibly illegal things must come to an end. The unraveling began not with a brilliant financial audit, but with a tax investigation. New York prosecutors were looking into Kozlowski for allegedly evading sales tax on millions of dollars worth of art he'd purchased. You see, he had paintings by Monet and Renoir shipped to Tyco's New Hampshire offices, where there was no sales tax, before secretly rerouting them to his lavish Fifth Avenue apartment in New York. This little tax dodge scheme was the thread that, when pulled, unraveled the whole corrupt sweater. It was the corporate equivalent of getting Al Capone for tax evasion. The investigation quickly ballooned from sales tax to something much bigger. As prosecutors dug into the art purchases, they started uncovering the unauthorized bonuses, the forgiven loans, and the whole rotten financial structure. The details that emerged were jaw-dropping. The most infamous example was a $2 million birthday party for Kozlowski's wife on the Italian island of Sardinia. The party had a Roman orgy theme, complete with gladiators, a vodka-spewing ice sculpture of Michelangelo's David, and a performance by Jimmy Buffett. And the best part? Tyco paid for half of it, ludicrously classifying it as a shareholder meeting. The first trial in 2004 ended in a mistrial, thanks to a juror who was allegedly pressured by the public after her name was leaked. But the prosecution wasn't giving up. In 2005, a second trial found both Kozlowski and Schwartz guilty on multiple counts, including grand larceny, conspiracy, and securities fraud. The jury saw through the complex financial jargon and recognized the crimes for what they were: simple, old-fashioned stealing. The verdict was a stunning downfall for two men who had once been at the pinnacle of the corporate world, a clear signal that the party was officially over. The punishments were severe. Both men were sentenced to 8 1/3 to 25 years in state prison, a hefty sentence for white-collar crime. On top of the jail time, they were ordered to pay massive sums in restitution and fines. Kozlowski had to pay back around $134 million, and Schwartz about $72 million. The men who once lived in opulent splendor, buying multi-million-dollar apartments and funding toga parties with company money, were now facing the stark reality of prison cells and the complete loss of their fortunes and reputations. It was a dramatic and fitting end to one of the most audacious corporate heists in modern history. The scandal was a body blow to Tyco International. Its stock price, once the envy of Wall Street, plummeted, wiping out billions of dollars in shareholder value practically overnight. The company's name became synonymous with corporate corruption and executive excess. Its reputation was in tatters. Imagine trying to sell security systems when your own executives have just been convicted of robbing the place blind. It created an existential crisis for the company. It wasn't just about the stolen money. It was about the complete and utter betrayal of trust at every level, from the investors to the employees. Faced with near-certain collapse, Tyco had to act fast. It was time for a corporate exorcism. The company brought in a new CEO, Edward Breen, who was known as a straight-shooting turnaround expert. His first order of business was to clean house. He fired the entire board of directors, the same board that had so spectacularly failed in its oversight duties, and replaced them with a new independent group. He launched a full-scale internal investigation to understand just how deep the rot went, and implemented strict new ethics and governance policies to ensure nothing like this could ever happen again. The restructuring was brutal and necessary. Breen and his new team worked to untangle the impossibly complex web of companies Kozlowski had strung together. They sold off non-essential businesses, paid down the massive debt that had been accumulated, and streamlined operations. The goal was to make Tyco smaller, more transparent, and more focused. This painful process eventually led to the company being broken up into several smaller, independent public companies in 2007, effectively dismantling the empire that Kozlowski had built. It was a long road back to stability and respectability. Ultimately, the Tyco scandal stands as a monumental cautionary tale. It's a textbook example of what happens when executive power goes unchecked, and a board of directors fails to do its one, most important job: supervise management. It highlighted the dangers of a celebrity CEO culture where a charismatic leader is given a blank check simply because the stock price is going up. The case, along with others from that era like Enron and WorldCom, spurred major reforms, including the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, designed to hold corporate executives more accountable. It taught us that no matter how complex the financial schemes are, greed is simple, and without strong oversight, the temptation to put personal enrichment over corporate duty can be too much to resist.